Great, great. Hi, everyone. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Conversations with Mai. Today, I'm really excited about our guest, Almamy Seray-Wurie. Almamy is someone that's a lifelong educator. His career spans over 3 decades. In two continents. So he was in Sierra Leone and Gambia. He taught there, and then now he's in New York City. So he helped shape a lot of young minds. Again, from as an education director in Brooklyn, and then also, as I mentioned, in Sierra Leone. I believe, was it the grammar school? I might have the school wrong that you taught at. I know once we
I did my student teaching at grammar school for like 4 months.
Okay, yes, I remember.
And then FSSG, which should be many of your aunties' school, FSSG.
My mom went to FSSG.
Oh, your mom too?
Okay, my mom went to FSSG. Right. Anyway, Almamy has a really unique perspective on history, heritage, identity, language. One of the things I really like about Almamy is that, once we became connected on social media, I would sometimes say things about my family, and he would go deeper and explain things or connections and things like that. So I always found that fascinating. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here, Almamy.
Yes, thank you, Mai, for having me. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Good evening, good afternoon, depending on part of the world that you are. Yes, this is our conversation. We all have this in us. It's just that sometimes more people have more time to talk about it, or some people are asked about it, or some people say little about it. But it's very important, because even if we don't say it, people who come after us will want to find out about us. Like your children will want to know who you are, So we are talking here today about your name, your identity, your nationality, your race, and all the dynamics that the human stories go with, human experiences go with. So I would start with my name, right?
Right.
Yes, I'll start with my name.
Yes. So let's start with your name. That's a really powerful name.
Icebreaker, right? So my name in short is Almamy Seray-Wurie. But there are like 4 other names behind this that I could not include, because it would be too much. It would be too much names to add to my name. So it took me a while to find out, or to find a way to like compress it, So like I was named Almamy because my auntie's husband, who I was named after, he was a chief. So his name is Abdul Razak Jallo. He became a chief in Kabbalah. So then they call me Almamy Abdul. So some people will call me Almamy Abdul because they went to my name in ceremony. But his name was Almamy because he was a chief. So many people are called Almamy because they are chiefs. Like there was a chief. I think that could be your grandfather, Almamy Mukhtar Kale. And
yes, my grandfather, yes.
Right. And then my Seray-Wurie name came about because my father's father, who became like an assistant imam at Fullertown in Freetown, his name was Cherno Sire, Imam Cherno Sire. C is actually C, which is a big clan that goes as far as Senegal and Guinea and even Mali and Mauritania. So because he was called Cherno Sire, Cherno means like someone who could interpret the Quran, like tafsir. Okay. So he was called Alpha Sire. So that's how we got the Sire. And then my father's elder brother, like the first guy who actually became exposed to the Freetown life, to the typical Sierra Leone culture, his name was Amadou Wurie. So we all followed his suit to keep that Wurie as an additional name. So he made that compound name. He designed it himself. Maybe he was a future thinker or something. So he gave us that name Seray-Wurie, but it's actually supposed to be like CAC or just C. But even with the C too, when you go to like Senegal and Guinea, they will tell you C is called a Sawane. C is also called a Gun. C is called a C. So there's so much, to it, but that's how the name came about.
So I'm related to the Sawanese, the C's.
Yes. One of my entry points to your family. I have like 7 connections with you, but we will talk about that sometime later. But that's one of them. Yes, I have that C connection.
Yes,
that ancestor who was a teacher in Bo School. I'm connected to him in some way, and that's, I think, your grandma's brother, the one who was a teacher who encouraged people to like send their Muslim children to school, because many Muslims were scared that their children, if they go to school, they will become westernized. They will not know Islam or their culture anymore. So he went there as a teacher And
Okay.
he like built a bridge to say, okay, I could still teach you about your Islam, but you could still know how to read and write the Western way to connect with the rest of the world that has that part, so that grandfather who went there,
Oh
right.
wow.
So that's how that name came about. So the Almamy is
This
from
is
the man
great.
who was a chief, who was in Kabbalah, who has some family in Kleintown. Some people call Tijanjalo and Dean. That was named after one of their grandpa who was sister, because my mother had like 4 sons,
Okay.
and she didn't want to have a son anymore. She wanted a daughter. So sometimes some people will give you a girl's name so that you will let your sister come. For my mother, it worked. So I had 3 sisters who came after me. But then this
Okay.
auntie was waiting that I want this name. So then she was honored. So I was named after her husband. That's how I got that name.
Wow.
So
That's
that's the part about
amazing.
the name part.
That's amazing. I like you said, my grandfather is named Almamy. I always knew that was a powerful name. And I think I remember that it is a title. So that's great. But you know what? I mean, have you ever thought about writing a book? I mean, you have so much knowledge in your head.
Yes, I started with the children's book that I will share later, the
Yes.
link, so some people will try to check what it's about.
Oh,
It's a
wow.
little simple child's book, but I start with that because for my 20 years of teaching early childhood, like people who are in nursery, who are in pre-K, who are in 3K,
Mm-hmm.
I do subscribe to that theory that somehow most of the problem starts from when we are children. Although
Absolutely.
God gave us a lot of opportunities to repair and remain as we go in, but we are also a child of, even though we could look grown up by number and chronologically, but the child is in you. That's why when
Absolutely.
you meet your schoolmate who was in your nursery school or something, you remember so many things and you could not express enough of how joyful you will feel seeing them,
Yeah.
because by then you were innocent. You didn't harbor any grudge. You didn't like see through wrong things. All you think was pure. So that's how
Absolutely.
that came about. So the name
Okay,
is
that
very
makes
important.
sense.
Yes.
That makes
So
sense.
the
This is
Almami
great.
itself came from Arabic, the Arabic influence, because like
Mhm.
there was a guy who was a Kenyan. He was a professor called Ali Mazuri.
Mm.
Professor Ali Mazuri was an African thinker who has died now. Professor Ali Mazuri said we inherited triple heritage. That means we are Africans. We have what we believe as Africans. Then after we had Arab influence that made some of us Muslims. And also we have Christian influence or Judeo-Christian influence because of colonization. So he calls it triple heritage. So the name Almami is from the Arabic word al-imam, because in Arabic to say A-L or E-L means the. So it's the imam. That's where the name comes from, al-imam. So the African pronunciation, they will say Almami or Almamo, but it comes from the Arabic
Okay.
word Al-Imam, means the leader. So they use that name to describe somebody who heads a mosque or who heads a tribe or community. They call them Almami. That's where that
Okay.
name comes from, right?
Wow, this is great. So let's start talking about your journey. So you
Yes.
began your teaching career, as I mentioned, in Sierra Leone and the Gambia before coming to the United States. What was the most significant difference you observed between the education systems you worked in back home versus the one you encountered in the Bronx and in Brooklyn, New York?
Yes. So with all systems, just like I had mentioned, even your ancestor that went to both school, right, to help there, the families help a lot for things to work with children.
Yeah.
But in this part of the world where more families are literate, they are more conscious of what is going on. You don't play with families here. In many of the schools, they are structured. They have a school board. The parents are so powerful. They don't have to go to college for that. Whatever they do, but if they are in the board, they could turn your life around, or they could dictate what's supposed to happen. And in some parts here, in some schools too, if you live in a community where people pay a lot of tax, that's the type of opportunities the school will have, depending on the zip code. That's why
Yeah.
sometimes some people even have to use somebody else's address.
Yeah.
But back home, we don't have that. What we had there before even colonization was that somebody would go and study about the culture. Maybe if it was a Muslim, he would go to a Karamoko and study Quran in something they call Karante. But then when the Western schools came, the colonial people had schools that they made for children of chiefs. Until then, public schools also in Freetown, and then the missionary also came. So Sierra Leone, we have, just like here, we have the parochial school, the religious school, we have the government
Yeah.
school, and then we had private schools, So back in Sierra Leone, we still paid fees, but recently they were trying to waive that. You know, so here they don't pay fees. So that is one good thing. You know, they took that burden off the parents' head. From elementary to high school, you don't pay fees. In some states too that could afford it, you don't pay college, even the community college.
Yeah.
So that burden of fees and what to eat.
Yeah.
They have that in Sierra Leone, but here they don't have that. You know, because the school will give you that meal. Some states or some cities are even having food provision during the holiday time.
Yes.
They encourage people to go and pick food from the school, you know, so they're trying to beat that because the school and the community are connected. It's hard to have a bad school in a good community. You could have the reverse, you know, but it's like both have to work together in some way. The school's supposed to reflect the community is supposed to reflect the school. And the other thing also here that makes it a little different, which we are working towards in Sierra Leone now, is the qualification. They are emphasizing a lot that you're supposed to be qualified, or it should be in your head that every time there are professional development, you have to improve yourself because things are changing, you know. Back home, we are slow with that, you know, comparatively, you know. And then there's also like what I would call the spirit of the learner, the student themselves. Because whatever happens, it boils down to the student. Because there's one definition of education that says to bring something out. That means everybody has something in them, but you have to spark it to come out. So when you spark that curiosity, then whatever you're bringing out, they will be interested and will want to go and catch it. So that's the other side of it, you know. So it's like to like school. Back home, you have children who like school, but they might not have the resources and opportunity to go to school. You could have few who don't like school. But here then, especially for people who look like me and you, black and brown people, some people have a theory that they believe the system is against us, but even if it's against you, do what you can at that moment. So it's like here you have to coax people to go to school because some don't want to go to school and they're so fast to tell you, I'm bored. I said, well, as long as you're breathing, you're not bored because something is working. When you stop breathing, then you're bored. I don't want to break people. That's what I mean. Like, it's like, yes, don't stay bored for a long time, just for a short time, and then find something else to.
Absolutely.
If you stay long, saying you're bored, your friends might easily use that as a way to get to you to do wrong things, to occupy you. So the learner's interest also is different. You know, here there's a lot of support, but then there are people who don't want to be interested. Back there's less support, but then there are more people interested. But still you have some who are not interested, even with there, you know. And then you come to the discipline part. Back there, the family does a lot of the discipline. And before they could even come to school and work with the school and use corporal punishment, here you cannot use that. Corporal punishment, you know, the rules are different, the laws are different. You could be sued for that. And then there is something that is unique here. We are trying to get to that, which is like to make provision for people who have special needs. Here, because there is an act or there are laws that says whatever circumstance the person has, if they are autistic, they are Down syndrome, whatever they have, even if they could not move, they are bedbound, somebody has to come there to help them. They have some access, some rights to education that you should explain, you know. So the education comes and reach them out. Compared to back home that they will say, oh, you don't have to go because the family will have to help you, you know, so like you feel rejected. So that adds to your psychological state of mind. Even though we have wonderful African stories, like there was a Malian story, because Mali is very powerful because of the influence of Madingo people too and Muslims, where they had this Mansa Musa. In that era, or little after that, there was somebody called Sundiata Keita. Somebody had taken over somebody else's reign and tried to like eliminate all his children so that nobody will inherit that person. But then there was one that was disabled or like physically challenged, what they would call crippled those days, those terms that you can just use, you know, like quadriplegic or something. But then they said, I know you will not do anything, so let me leave you. But then that guy, after a while, he gained some strength and became a Muslim, a leader for the group to fight. You know, his name was Sundiata Keita. That's where that name comes from. But he was somebody who was physically disabled. He could not walk. And the guy who had come to wipe the family left him because he thought he had no use. So those are all stories that should let people know, like back there, that there is something that will come out of that, you know, and God can make that happen, you know. So we are different in that. And also for something like gifted, also children who are gifted, we used to encourage that a lot back home, where you could be in class 1, but if you are above, they will jump you to class 3, So those type of things, they are supported a lot here, compared to back there. There used to be incentive for that and all that, So we hope we get better with that, And then there are also things like critical thinking is one thing they're doing here a lot that we have to try to improve on. Because even this type of forum we have is efforts that we are making. We hope we have more of that. Because at one time in our culture, they will tell you, you're not supposed to talk a lot. You're a chatterbox, you are this. Yes, sometimes it's better to listen more than talk. You have 2 ears and talk less. But again, if you push it too far, some people will be too silent to fault. People should be talking.
Yes.
The more you talk, the better, especially with an open mind, and a healthy conversation. That helps a lot. So those are things we have to improve on, because like here, they do it a lot. They have debates, they have all these things. So they engage you. So there are very few people here who could not face the mic completely, at least they would have got one brush of it somewhere, So we have to do a lot of that back home, so people will feel empowered. Because like other people who believe in bullying or who want to let wrong things live forever, like that when you don't talk, because they don't want silence or something, So that is something that makes the school different, And also with uniforms too, which is something simple. Some places uniforms are not mandated. Here, it's optional, but back there it's mandated. And here they've done something that is very good, where in high schools now you could take some credits for college. So by the time you get to college, there are less things that you have to do, and they'll count those credits. We hope we'll get to that one day back home. We could afford that, where you could take some credits and that will count. Although back home there were a few people who were like 15 years old and got to college. There was a guy, he was 15 in 1973. He went to Frabe College. They had to have a meeting about that because it was not usual. Now here you have like those Asian, somebody who's like 8 or 9 and who wants to go to Harvard because it's exceptional. Although there are still people who argue that you have to balance that out. And I do support that in some way. There are things you will not know because of your age. It's like there was a movie where this guy took something and then he became big. But then behind the door, he used to play with his friends because that's what he's used to, because he's still a child.
Yes.
So that's how life balances out. So in terms of schools, that's how it is. And the last thing I want to talk about is like safety. Back home, it's not a war-torn country and stuff. The schools are safer compared to here. But in terms of things that are put in place, physical things, like cameras, like a policeman standing there, you see those things compared to back home. But again, in terms of hearing of shootings and stuff, we don't have a lot of that there. So that makes it different, but that has to do with how the state sees things,
Yeah.
But then the influences are the same because all children have access to internet now and they see rough things that come to their mind, But comparatively, there are very few cases where you will hear somebody up a whole school, a Columbine thing. We don't have that type of thing happening there.
Absolutely. Right. Wow. Well, thank you. I did want to touch on some things you mentioned. So I was one of the kids that I'm dyslexic. I have a learning disorder. Most people don't know that. So I was a C student until I got to college, basically, and I taught myself how to learn when I was getting my MBA. But yeah, so I was one of those kids, and I remember someone telling me once that if you were in Sierra Leone, you would have been left behind. They were like, "Oh, you probably would have been working in the kitchen or somewhere." Even though my family, I came from a prominent family. Still, it would have been harder. But here, because like you said, there's so much like encouragement, there are tools and like resources in place to help folks. So I think that helped me. And I do know that having a mother that was successful helped as well, because I saw success in my environment. But I was one of those kids. And I know that most kids like me get left behind in Sierra Leone. Like I know that for a fact, right? So I'm always thankful that I'm here. And one of the things I noticed too is that I'm not someone that cram information. Yes. I'm more of a critical thinker.
Your learning style is different.
It's different.
It's one way to learn, right?
Right. So I couldn't do well in that environment regardless, because I am not able to memorize and spit things out. But I'm able to, like I can write about something and it would make sense, right? So I just can't do like even standardized tests. I'm not good because of my dyslexia. So for me, again, having different learning styles here was helpful to me. So I could relate exactly with what you said. And then one more thing you said that was really great, actually. One more thing you said about the critical thinking. So one thing I noticed here, and I spoke to some other Sierra Leoneans who were in corporate America,
Right.
is that like I know with me when I worked at a big firm, Buzalin, I wouldn't like speak up when I was around adults, and there was a meeting and they were going back and forth. Even if I knew the answer to something, I would wait till after the meeting. So once I got written up for that, I got in trouble for that. And then I remember realizing that this is because of my culture. You don't speak when adults are speaking. You can't interrupt no matter what, things like that. So yeah. And then there were other folks, like I said, that mentioned they had the same experience. So I was really excited when you
Yes,
touched on.
because even to look at somebody in the eye, in many of our cultures, they say you are a witch or you are some type of dry head or something, But
Yeah.
here, if you don't look, they think you're hiding something.
Yes,
So
yes,
that's
you
a
have to.
contrast. But they're getting better now to understand that sometimes because of the culture that you come from.
Yes,
And also you have to make some effort because if you come to a
yes,
place that's what they believe, you have to
yeah.
make some effort to be looking at people. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Back
So
home,
yeah, yeah,
right.
there are classes on those things now for professionals. Even in my executive master's class, we took a course called Communication and Cultures, and it highlighted everything I said about Sierra Leone. We looked at all the countries and the different styles of engaging and behaviors, and it yeah. So it is getting better. It is. This is great. Okay, so let's talk about history and identity. So history of races in the USA and history of tribes, ethno-linguistic groups in the motherland. Can you share your understanding of both the
Yes,
similarities, the differences?
yes. It's interesting how you get to understand with life and knowledge or experiences that the human being most times look for something to discriminate against the other. The human being operates like that.
Yeah,
Maybe because we fall in the animal kingdom where we are competitive or we have that in us to like take over the other person, like even
yeah.
when they study all these animal behaviors these days, they will tell you the lion, they don't believe in having a stepchild,
Oh,
because they think that gene will disturb their pack. Or even if there are any other man around, they all have to be subject to the one who is the boss. And they should not
mhm.
touch the woman, only that one who's the boss, until somebody else comes and beat that lion up and takes over. And you stay under the new king or you go your way if they don't kill you, or even with now they know that penguins, even penguins in the north, the mother penguin will have the egg and the father will keep the egg until it's time to give back for the egg to hatch and the mother will come and take the egg from the father. All these things they're studying now to show that there are animals too who have fatherhood, people who play some part. Some animals, so the father just make the mother pregnant and go their way. Just like they know now that also there are some animals too who only have one partner for life. You know, if you like you and your cousin Almamy used to make the joke. So if it was like the full time you marry your cousin, you're stuck with him forever. So they have this type of thing. Some animals, that's how they operate. If they marry one person or their own way, that's how you have to stay forever, except that one dies or something. Or even they have some animals too where if they mate, the man will die or something. They're studying all these things. So we have those things in us as humans, although we are more advanced. We've been respected where we could do more things. We could fly a plane, we could use internet like we're using it now. So that makes us find a way to kick somebody out. That's where the people who are like enablers or who are audience to wrong, that's where they come in. If it's safe, because you cannot go interfere in something that you're not sure of. You have to know what is going on if it says for you to help. If somebody likes you so much, will say, "Oh Maya, I know you like me, but what you did, think about it." And we pray that more of us be people who have ears, who listen. Like in Freetown, people will say, "Who that they draw ears? I like in a president, person for the way they draw ears. We serve you listen to the person. Because you are human, you could make mistakes. Our animal parts will come in, so we are competitive. So before even to join the police, you cannot join the police until you get to a certain height. But they've dropped all those things now because they know that it was a type of discrimination. Even for us in West Africa, when people started to go to Western schools, to be old for school, it wasn't only 6 and 7 years old, because not everybody had a birth certificate. You have to take your right hand and cross it to your left, and if you could touch your ears, you're old enough. So somebody who was born with short hand will take longer to go to school because they didn't pass the physical test. You're supposed to cross your hand over your head and touch your ears. It shows you're old enough to go to school. So all those things were there, but they are changing now, So until things get better, the human being will always look for something. So in terms of race and tribe, if I would start with tribe before I come to the race, we all have these languages. Some people connect it to some story about Babel, that people were trying to challenge God, and when they went up and their voices, everybody came with a different voice. I don't know how it started, but it's a way of communication, which is good, And obviously, some languages, just like people, they can influence others. Because just like God made people too, they are likable. So some languages, maybe they use them for commercial purpose, or they travel more, so their language spreads. Like in Sierra Leone, we have a language called Krim. It's spelled Krim. Some people call it Kim. They only have like 50 people who speak it now, or nearly 100, because the Mende and Shabro is what people talk now, even though by blood they are Krim. Like there was somebody called Mina, who was the vice president. I think one time I saw a picture that your mother is in, that he was there. He was a lawyer. I think your mother was the only female lawyer there or something. There's somebody called Mina. Yeah. You could ask about politics. He died because of the political things they do that might be right or wrong. But he comes from that tribe. But culturally, he's Mende. So there are many tribes like that who, because they are small, the others is their language they speak and they take it over, So that is the language politics. That will happen. So language is there, and then also ethnicity is there, although there could be one. But somebody will tell you, I am Kuranko, like in Sierra Leone. But what he speaks is 90% what Madingo speaks. But he feels his identity is different. Just like in Sierra Leone, you will say Creole. But the Creole Muslim has other things that makes them a little different from the Creole Christian. But they are all human beings, but it's just that there are things that will make some other group look different. Not to use it as discrimination, because that's what makes diversity. God made that, until we get to that point to understand knowledge and be tolerant, like there's something called loco. Some other people speak something like loco that they call Mende, but they think they're different because of how their history tells them they are different people.
Oh, wow.
So sometimes people speak the same language. I think in Rwanda, they had said people who fought in Rwanda, they speak one language, but they feel they feel different in their mind, because physically too, one looks tall and black, look short and black, like what they call Bantu, like the Sudanese type of black man. And then the other one looks like the Somalian type, the tall and slim and long nose.
Okay.
I think the Tutsi look like that, and the Hutu look short. But they speak the same language, but they still fought. So human beings, it's not just the language sometimes. It's just how you think in your mind.
Yeah.
And before, we used to trust our teachers and parents a lot because we thought they could not lie. But now, more people are, in our culture, you can't just say that. But like here, they even have a story. Maybe you've seen it before with your daughter or some other people, that they say, Johnny, yes, Papa, eating sugar. I don't know if you've seen that.
It sounds familiar.
There's some type of rhyme, a nursery thing where the boy, I think the father said not to eat sugar, but he ate the sugar, and the father come eating sugar, and then he opened his mouth and they saw the sugar. And then after, it happened between the parents too, to show that they too can lie. But it's just that when you're big, your lie is more conscious. So sometimes your grandma will tell you, don't talk to these people, they hate my grandpa. Maybe it was not happened like that. It didn't happen like that. Somebody told her, or maybe it actually happened like that, but you should forgive. But it's hard. So those things people keep to. So that's where those tribal things become strong, because somebody will tell you this and you believe them so much.
Yes. Yes. So this is very good. I have two things. So can you just quickly, for those of us who don't really know the differences between like the Creole, the Oku Marabu, and can you just talk about that a little bit more?
Yes,
I'm not all the way clear as well.
Yes, with that too, we have a blessing in the sense that those days, people who were brought to Sierra Leone, they call them Creoles. They use a general term, Creoles. Some people say even the way they spell it, Creole, is European. But if you call it Kro, it makes it more African. So some scholars are very fussy about the Kro than the Creole, because it makes you think about Haitians and stuff. But again, linguistically, all African languages that came out of an attempt to speak a European language, blending with an African language, it's a type of Creole, or broken English, or broken French, or broken Spanish, or Patois, So, but in the case of Sierra Leone, you had people who came from Canada. You had people who came from the West Indies. You had people who came from Abeokuta. You had people who too were on their way to slavery and they were brought. And you had Fula, Madingos, and Sosos and Hausas who came. And some of them, just like we kept the Seray-Wurie name, there are Fulas who became Johnson. And maybe the grammar will tell you, yes, really we are Fulas, but it's just that for convenience or something, we are now Johnson because we go to church. That's what our father, like even it happened in England, that guy they call Boris Johnson, who became a prime minister, he's the Turkish. His origin is Turkish. But I think somebody in their ancestral line changed the name or keep the mother's name to make it easier, because that happens too with names. Some people too, they have to take another name to survive or to make it easier on the family, or somebody's haunting them. Then they change their name to that, But people who know them will say, oh, they were adopted. I think the machine kicked me out, right? Okay, you could put me back in. So that is the thing. So with the Freetown case, the people who came, all of them have melted to one, if I use that word, or we have a mosaic where they keep their identity, but they call themselves Creole. So you have somebody who comes from the Nigerian influence line. That's what we call like Mohammed Omotunde Cole, right? Somebody we call Mohammed will be called John Omotunde Cole. So in some families, there were even cousins who one chose to follow Islam because they think it's more African. Somewhere there who thought like that, they think it's easier, So, but it's a good thing too, in the sense that for someone who thinks more like an African, who knows that all these religions are good because they teach you good principles of life, but don't use them to hate another person. Because if you're sincerely in it, then you have to keep the golden rule, which is the common bridge we all have. The golden rule touches both, so keep that, So that's how we got those names. And after a while, the people who are Muslim Creoles, they drop the English names out. Like there's a lot of savage people who are called savage in the Frobe part. And English people, some of them think savage means you are black, you're a bad person. Or maybe there was a boat that came called savage, or somebody who had savage. But then after a while, some savage are there who just stopped at, if somebody's name was Ahmad Tijan, he knocked the savage out. Some savage also became like Algali. Some savage became Newland. So that happened too. You have some people also who they call Joki. It's like a European name, but some are called Lamin, some are called Ibrahim, some are called Ayub. So those type of things happen too, in the Creole Muslim side. But their level of tolerance also helped the rest of Sierra Leone to enforce what also they believed. That's why Sierra Leone is recorded as a country where we don't allow religion to break us. We hope we keep it that way. That model was reinforced by the Creole model in Freetown too. So the native people too, they were Muslim, but when they became Christians, they said, oh, my mother is Muslim, I have to respect that. Like there was a guy who's a Catholic bishop whose mother is a Hajjah. He paid for her to go to Mecca. So that is one good thing about it. So the Creoles who are Muslims, who are Christians in Sierra Leone, they are one. Although you will still have few who will say, I'm West Indian, my name is this, we came from the West Indies. Yes, some people came from the West Indies who even came to live in Sierra Leone, but that is so long ago, that they could still keep the ties, but we are one. And then one other way too that God blessed us in Sierra Leone was that when some people went to study in England in the 60s, they only went to social gatherings that were for Black people. So they ended up marrying some Caribbean women who came with the Windrush, because some Black people were taken to England too with the Windrush, some type of boats that took people to walk in England. So like when I was a kid, I knew up to 20 families who their mothers were Caribbeans who came to Sierra Leone. By then Sierra Leone was doing well economically and they were born there. Some live in England now because some also have rights to live in England because of their mother's status, you see. So if we really make good use of all those things, it could help, just like you have the Americans who are going back to Ghana, going back to Gambia, if they combine all those things and use them well, because like the old man, Du Bois, did that. Somebody who was a sociologist here. He went back to Ghana. I think he even died there. They even had to negotiate to bring him back. I don't know if they actually did that, So some of those guys did that. Even Maya Angelou visited Malcolm X, they visited, you know. Some could not stay there, but some went to visit. There was even a guy also who was a Trinidad guy called Stokika Michael. He changed his name to Kwame Ture. He came here, I think he was a Black Panther, they say, so they gave him a hard time. So he went to Guinea. He married Maya Makeba, you know, and then after married another woman and had 2 children or something, you know. So all these guys do these things just to reconnect, because we are one. For the people who don't like us, they see us as one, you know. So until we realize that, the struggle continues, you know, that the Black in Africa and the Black here, they live in different parts now, but they have to find that bridge to reconnect in fairness, you know. And it's also part of healing, because if we don't heal, we have our own wounds. They also have their own wounds. They might have more than we have. We might have more than they have, you know. But until we try to bridge, you know, we should not think we are superior over them, or they think they are superior over us, or the ones in the Caribbean think they are in the middle, you know. Because for the people who don't like us, they see us as one.
Absolutely.
So in conclusion, the Creole in Freetown, the ones who are Muslims, the ones who are Christians, they are blending a lot. You know, like the older people will tell you Marabu, say, you know, Marabu, you know, that means you're Muslim, you know, or, you know, some people used to even say Allah Kuberian. That means you're Muslim. Like they say Allahu Akbar, say Allah Kuberian. It was like a joke, you know. Wow. So like my culture is connected to that, because my grandpa who came, even though he was Fula, he lived in Fula Town, which is Akumarabu, you know. So my father would speak Creole, what we call Lodamasi Creole, you know. He doesn't speak like a typical Fula who just came, who would not speak Creole so clearly, you know.
Right.
Because that's where he was born and he grew up there. Just like those two who were born in Sanda, they must have some type of Timini influence, or those who are born in Pujon will have some Mende influence. It's just a fact of life, you know.
Yes. So my family's from Fulatong, we're Oku Marabu, I think, but our we have Nigerian heritage. So as you mentioned earlier, you gave an example. So I have a Yoruba name, Olaye. One of my middle names is Yoruba. I think I'm pronouncing it right. So so I'm familiar with that. This is great. So there are lots of comments, and let me say hi to everyone. Hi, Abdullah, watching from Pennsylvania. Zainab from New York. Look at you. You have a lot of fans. These are all your fans. Jean Bankole.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, these are all look at your New York folks. Okay. Someone, Tarawali's watching from Maryland and New Jersey in the house. Okay. Thank you all so much. And someone's watching from UK. Kingston Uphill, UK, the Twin City of Freetown. And Sabrina, thank you all so much. This is such an interesting conversation. Very, very informative. So we're gonna move on. So that was a fascinating comparison. So how did you understand? How's your understanding of identity, perhaps? Let's say centered on ethno-linguistic groups in West Africa. Change? How did your understanding of that change when you were suddenly confronted with America's complex and often binary conversation about race?
Yes. Before I come to that, like I'm glad you mentioned your Yoruba name, right? Which is Ade or Ola, right?
Ola.
Like I try to pick up. I think they have like 5 or 7 that I try to keep, you know, like to say any name that has an Olu means God, like Oluwa. Okay. I think any name that has Ola has to do with riches.
Okay. I think I've heard that,
I don't know if I got it right. Or any name that has to do Ade means like a royal or something. So they have those keywords they use and then they add something else there. But they are very powerful names, you know. Yes. And I'm really fascinated about their names, especially the twin thing. When I got to see in Guinness Book of Record that before fertility pills were made, the Yoruba people made twins more than any other human being God made. I don't know why God did that. So they even went there to see what they are eating. They even have villages they call twin village. Nobody is in the village that is not a twin. Nigeria has that type of situation. Because of the Yoruba, they have names for twins, and they have names for the one who comes after the twin, the one who comes after the twins, like Alaba, somebody who comes after the Dowu, you know.
Oh, okay, Alaba. Like, okay.
I think the Dowu is the one who comes after the twin, like the other Sierra Leoneans will say Beshe or Sajo. And then there is Alaba, the one who comes after the Sajo or the Idowu. Okay. And they even told me that the names they give them, the one who comes out first is called Taiwo. which they say come from the Yoruba word itowo, go taste something. And the one who left, who physically came last on earth, is the boss. Had said, you go check what's going on because I'm the boss. Make sure the place is clear before the VIP comes. So in their culture, the one who came out last is older.
Okay.
In many other African tribes, that one is there too. But they have specific names for who comes out first. I think even with Mende, they say Sau and Gina. I don't know how the reasoning behind it, but I know that in the Yoruba case, the Taiwo means go taste the world, Itowo, and Kainde means follow me, come behind. So the Kainde is the second twin who comes out.
Okay. So like the Kono people have that too. I'm familiar with theirs, right?
Yes, they have the Konos too have names for twins, but then they have like birth order.
Birth order, yes.
Yes. If you're a boy, you are Sa. If you're a girl, you are Sia.
Yes.
And then there is T, I think Tamba.
Tamba. Yes.
So they have that order. Up to 5 or 6, they have that order, yes. So so taking that to race now, right? In terms of race, especially for here where we live in the USA, there had been race issues even before USA was made. This is a human trouble, because USA, as you know, came much later. The other guys were coming here, it was because they thought it was too much to bring other people that they started to bring people directly here. Before they used to do business with those in the islands, like on the islands they work. So there was slavery in Brazil and some islands before the USA took it. Because like Portugal and England and Spain, they were the bosses. And even with the USA itself, they owned pieces of it. Like, Louisiana was French, right?
Yes.
Right. So, so it was like that. So until the USA started to stand on their own or do their own things now, that's when we had to deal with them directly, Like even for us, Sierra Leoneans, you have these people who they brought to, like where Ahmad was talking about the Gula people who they brought because they could grow rice and stuff,
Yeah.
So the race thing, with what they say here is that one time it was so strong, those who were against being black or non-white, that they said even if you have a percentage of it, 1% of black, you are black, So there are many people who have black ancestry, like Louis Gates is doing that now a lot to show that some people do have black ancestry.
Yes.
Professor Gates, But before, you don't want people to say that because that will make the law catch you, the law that says these people are different, they are not equal to us. Until they brought Jim Crow, because the human is so funny. They have a law, and after a while, when it changes, they find another way.
Yes.
Like the latest one we had was the Martin Luther King days in the 60s, right? But then recently, when we had all these things happening to the guy in Florida, the other guy in Minnesota, we have this Black Lives Matters now. And now even for us in New York now, I think in other states, the Juneteenth is a holiday now.
Yes, that's my birthday.
Oh, really? Okay, good. Hi, that's good. That's good. So maybe one day you'll visit the Black Wall Street, as they used to call it, or something. Right?
Yes. I want to do all of those. I'm so interested in history right now. Black history, African history. That's why I was so excited about this show. But yeah, like Kiki said, history buff. I mean, this is amazing. So
yes, they have done so well to get it better, because if they've taken so much from you, if you don't make some effort, sometimes you think it's so much you should not do anything, but you make it worse. So at least do something, like the Blacks here who had Kwanzaa as something to match up, they even had black colleges and all that. Those are efforts they've made to make it better, because it was really worse before. That they said no more slavery, but they could not give them anything. They could not have somewhere to do except they could not open a bank account. They could not even marry outside their race. They had all these barriers, So it was really rough the way it was here, Although now when it changed, they became one of the best in handling that, Although you still have some who just want to hold on to that hate, or think that's how it has been. It should stay that way. That's why we have 1 or 2 cases. But on paper, by law, they have changed a lot. Like even to have a Supreme Court judge that is black, like Sono Sotomayor, because like the people who are Hispanic, most of them have black genes, just like Louis Gates is proving more, but it physically could tell because that's what history also tells, So it's getting better, but still we have a lot of work to do. That's why even my book, I spoke about a boy because the boy child is giving a lot of problem in America. The boys.
Yes. That's
So that book is like encouraging boys to say that you could still excel, you could still do your sport, but have a spiritual life and stay off wrong things, because the system is against us if you use that word. And if you do one little thing, you give them something to put behind you, so that will stop you from growth. Because the
Absolutely.
more they have some records, the more they will say, "Oh, I don't want you to have this because you are this."
Yeah.
If there is something that comes that you didn't look for, okay, we pray that God makes you survive that. It's your luck, if I use that word. But again, if you go for the trouble, that makes it worse. We have to do a lot. And the more the black man is troubled, the more it will affect the sisters too. Because in the end, there are some sisters who want to stay loyal. It doesn't mean they will not date other races, but in some way they want the black family to grow. The black family can only grow if we work together. But many of the times the boys don't want to cooperate, or many of the times
That's a whole nother show. That's a
right,
whole
right.
new.
So
I'm
that's the thing
sorry.
of race. So in the end, not like South Africa where they had middle ground. Here they only have the two, right? Although now in some forms they will say Latino or no Latino. At least you will jump that. They'll say, okay, it's not mandated before you go to the next one. But there was too much of black and white clearly here.
Yeah.
Not like in South Africa too, where they even had colored in the middle.
Yeah.
So here it was actually blacks they call colored at one point.
Yeah.
Right? You see, so instead of
That's
like
why in South Africa,
right?
I've been to South Africa. In South Africa, it's okay, right? Like when I went, I had a culture shock when I heard folks being called colored. But over here, it's like, you can't, that's not politically correct to
Yes,
call
they
black
don't use
folks.
those terms anymore
Yeah.
because they've
Yeah.
agreed that words are powerful. Words are powerful. Word could
Yeah.
in South Africa too. They even had the name they were calling black people in South Africa in the Afrikaans language was kafir. That's one other nickname they call black people, kafir. Kafir was something they borrowed from Arabic influence or from Islamic influence. It means you don't believe in God. But the Boer people use that in South Africa. They call the blacks kafir. I don't know how come they owned it. Possibly because South Africa too, they could prove now that some people came there who are Malay. Like you have Madagascar, those Indian Ocean parts. Some Malays did come to South Africa. So some people are in South Africa who would have small eyes a little, but they're black.
Okay.
Just like you have in Madagascar, that island.
Yeah, yeah.
There was communication between people on the Indian side and Africa. Arabs and Indians and Malay had come there before, but they didn't have much record. Just like black people too, there were some they took to India.
Oh, that's why. Is that why you have some dark Indians?
Yes. Well, apart from them having the dark ones too, but they have ones that are recent history compared to those ones. Like they brought blacks here. There were blacks there. They call them Sidi.
Okay.
They were brought from Africa. Yes, they were brought from Africa.
Oh,
historically, or people are there, anthropologists who claim that the whole world was one continent and those people went there, but that is different. These were people who were taken there when they had those moguls. So some kings used to like to have black slaves. I don't know for what. Just like you have Zanzibar. Zanzibar used to have Arabs who came there and married or had mulatto children, if I use that word. Not politically correct to say, or mixed race children, so you have all these things. Things are changing now, and sometimes if they tell you should not be conservative to say, oh, you don't want to open up, because it's just not fair, because you don't know how much damage that causes for someone who's fighting to heal, So the racial thing has improved. Even if you think about something that happened in the 40s, they call Brown versus Board of Education.
Yes.
Like for us who are in the school system, they let us study that, and when things happen too, it comes out again, But still, there are things too that it depends on the community you are. Like if I'm in a black school, when it's Black History time, we could talk about slavery and stuff in depth. But if you're white and you're doing it, you have to be careful, so you don't step on the toe of some black that is sensitive or whose parent is sensitive. There was a time that a lady made some children or some students did a performance arts things to see how the slave auction was done, and that school they almost shut it down because they thought they are laughing the black people, But I don't know what the teacher's intention was, but because of the color of the teacher, I'm sure if it was a black teacher, maybe they would have said, okay, don't do it again or something, But people were more sensitive, So that's where the cultural competency come in, People are there who some things they can't just say it. Like among black people, they will call each other N-word, but a white person cannot do it,
Yes,
we hope everybody doesn't do it,
Yeah, you have to be careful.
But you have those type of things, So here, race is that type of thing. The law is there, which is good compared to back home where the tribal thing, we don't have laws. But Kenya does have a law now on tribalism. Okay. Kenya, even in the company that you have, if you don't have a balance in terms of the ethnic representation, you know, you could be queried for that. That's your job. You try to just keep people from your tribe, like ethnic audit. They do that in Kenya, which is good. We hope more African countries will try to do that so that it will reduce nepotism. You know.
I get, because I think that's a big problem in Sierra Leone still, right? I know as far as like politics go, most people vote along tribal lines, correct?
Yes, we made that mistake. We made that mistake. That's why you have to be careful sometimes, because you make one mistake. When we were fighting for independence, we were all one.
Yes.
But then when we got independence, one group was showing up too much.
Yes.
And they thought nobody could check them. So then that brought rise to the other people. But then because of the two historic background the two groups have, it's difficult until we, like Madingo people could help. Fula people could help people who are between the two, you know, until they realize, because it doesn't make sense. How much people do you have in Sierra Leone for you to like keep a job and it's only for your people? It don't make sense, you know.
Right.
And one group cannot live alone, cannot live on their own. We all have to interact. But that's what brought that, you know. That's why the old man, Shaka Stephen, he must have made mess with our economy or tried to like silence anybody who wants to fight him. But he had no iota of tribalism in him. Wow. That was one good thing. He didn't encourage that at all.
That's good.
If you want to bring tribal stuff, he said, no, we don't have that here. And some of his people will tell him, who are Mendes will say he's a Creole man. That's why he has the name Stephen, you know.
Yeah.
Other people say he's not even a Limba. He just picked Limba because he wanted to this. His father is Bambara. That's why he has a big nose, you know. They say all this, but he didn't mess with that. He tried to encourage all tribes to be part of what he believes in, you know. It's just that if you want to take his power at that time,
excuse me,
you understand like now that you should have 2 terms and stuff, you know. You see, so that was one thing.
That's great. You know. That's great. So you just reminded me of you know, earlier in the show, I said one of the reasons I really like you is that you know so much history. I remember this was maybe a few years ago when I was supporting Ambassador Y, Sierra Leone's former ambassador to the U.S., and someone made a comment about me being SLPP or something, I don't know. And then because my family is, you know, my grandfather worked with Pashaki and all that. You know,
they say he donated the name APC.
He actually created it. Yes. Right? So then I remember you went under the post and you actually informed them, you know, about my background, how the connections to SLPP, you know, the connection to APC, and you know, I was just like, wow, this guy, like, you just. It was great.
Yeah, we're related to both sides. It's just crazy how some people want to make it that way, you know. And if we don't fix that, we're not going to fix the country, you know. Because it makes sense. It's just good for 2 times, you leave, somebody else come, and we are one people, you know.
Which is why I did what I did, and I support anybody that's in, because I want to be an example, especially me that comes from a family, APC family, if you will say, right? I mean, I come from both sides, but to show them that, listen, it's okay to support the government. It shouldn't be about what party or what tribe or whatsoever. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, I keep it neutral. But thank you to a lot of people that have joined from Pennsylvania, Kadiatu, Bumatasiba. Thank you for joining.
Oh yes, that was my sister you met.
Oh, that's her. Okay.
That's her other name, her pet name.
Oh, she's so beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you for joining. And
she has a name like your name. Her name is Maimuna. She has a son called Mukhtar, like your grandpa's name, right?
Wow. All my Munas are beautiful and amazing people, of course. Okay. So let's talk about bias. So you've been an educator for over 30 years, as I mentioned earlier, which gives you a long-term view. How have you seen prejudice or bias, either from individuals or from the system itself, affect your students, and how has that changed from when you first started?
Right. The first thing is that everybody does have a bias. It's just that don't allow it to stay, you know, because when you see someone, you think about, it's easier to learn by association. Just like we're talking about learning styles, right? It's much easier to learn by association. At one time, anybody who has eyes like Chinese, we call them Chinese. It takes exposure or time for you to know that they are Koreans, they are Japanese. And some don't even like you to call them the other one's name, you know, because they had their own things that they went through, or they just say, no, that makes us lost. We are not Chinese. So everybody has something that your grandfather has told you or that you went through. And when something else happens again, it confirms your bias. Like I remember the old man in South Africa, Desmond Tutu. He said those days in South Africa, when things were difficult for the black people, it took a while for them to be allowed to drive a car because they thought they were not intelligent enough to drive a car. What's a car? You know? But then, even with a pilot, he never saw a pilot that's a black person. So it was only when he came to Nigeria that he took an airplane that was a black pilot from one state of Nigeria to another state. He said whilst they were in the plane, there was some type of air turbulence or something, but that was the first time he experienced that type of severity of turbulence. He said, but then in his mind, he said, maybe our people are right, blacks cannot drive planes, cannot fly a plane. Look what's happening to this plane. I never experienced this before. I've been to like 6 places. But then the plane landed safely, but later he knew that there are things, something called turbulence. He studied more about that. But he was trying to say that many years of discrimination will break your confidence so much that you will not believe yourself. Yeah. So that's how biases can grow until they become prejudice, until they make them into a law. But the simple one could be a bias or stereotype. That's why it starts. Those are simple, safe terms. But when you get to the level of becoming like a prejudice until it becomes some type of discrimination or fixed law, that is more serious. But every human goes through that. Some to you are not conscious. Somebody has to let you realize. Some to you might be just be in denial. I don't think it's me who did that, But you should have that type of open mind to say, oh, yes, I don't think this was fair, So for US, for example, US, at one time, even with the schools, they had something called affirmative action, which was a way in higher education to close the gap. But they've recently dropped it, the people in the Supreme Court did that. And we have our people there, the 2 ladies are there who are black, right? Apart from the other black man. So they all said, although they were educated through that, but in some way, we've catch up a lot. We are slack too, Some people just want to go to school, even though it's there, So we don't need it again, which is understandable. Some countries have done that model before, So yes, it's getting better, but again, we have to work a lot. We cannot give up. It's good that they have all these things with the police now where they have body cameras, but some is so much in them that they forget they have a body camera, and it shows that in the end, but it's good that they bring that up. There was a guy too, I don't remember his name, but he was a lawyer. He went to New Mexico. He was one of those big black lawyers. He went to represent some client there that something happened to. So while they were waiting, even the judge himself was saying, oh, this place that you're sitting here is for lawyers, legal representation. You should go to the back there, He said, oh, I'm representing here, the judge. But when the judge made him know that the judge didn't expect him to be there because in New Mexico, wherever they were, he didn't think a black person was there, but he was brought from another state. But he said that made him realize that even if you find your way through, there are still times that they will let you know, like in Salon, they go say, then go let you know who that you be, by how they think you are supposed to be, Even with the other brother too, Ben Carson, who wrote that wonderful book, who could separate the Siamese twins, But there was a time he said that he went to Baltimore, some hospital in Maryland that was a top hospital where they said, oh, you're the porter, you brought this here. He said, no, it's the doctor, But in Sierra Leone too, I have been told in Sierra Leone that there was a time somebody was in hospital and the doctor was a doctor called Camara. Those days that some Creoles thought we are not the same at all. And the person said, how could you go to Dr. Camara? You left Dr. Luke, Dr. Jones. I said, well, Dr. Camara, there's every day now, So we went through that too. We are humans, And Liberia had the worst of that. Liberia had the worst case. Sierra Leone, we had a lot of mix between our people. It's almost disappeared now. But Liberia, it was worse, So there was an old man too, they called Carifa Smart. He even married an African American. He was a politician who even wrote that in his book, that there was a time they said 3 loco equal to 1 Timini, 3 Timini equal to like some type of ranking, because some people who were discriminating were doing that, So it's not easy for human beings to like stop that completely. It's good that there are laws. It's good that there are awareness people. It's good that there are people who are like enablers who are coming in a positive way, who are intervening to say, oh, no, you can't do that. That's not right. There's a law that says not to do that, So the schools are getting better now. Now there are more children see people who look like them. There are more black people who are teachers. Even with males too, there was a time that they were encouraging us as males to teach in the lower level, because you don't find many male in the elementary and middle school, because the boys are causing so much trouble that it's good to have a male there, So all those balances we should have, and it's good that people are having honest conversations to acknowledge that there's something we should do. If we don't do something, it's going to look like this, because the more the children see people who look like them, the better they feel that they too can do it,
Yeah.
And some things too that the white teacher might not know, because they are not like familiar with that culture. They have their own biases that they've grown up with. But there's a black person who will say, no, don't look at it this way. This is how it is. You say, okay, without bias, you go there and handle that matter,
Absolutely.
But that is in us. We all have our biases,
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to what you said, I mean, seeing folks who look like you succeed makes a huge difference. And as I mentioned, even though I didn't do well in school, I saw a successful mother, and I know that had a big impact on me. So that's great. That's great. Okay, your sister said WB and his wife are buried in Ghana. Okay, thank you.
Oh yeah, she visited Ghana recently. Good, okay. She went with a group of African
wow.
Americans, right? So she visited that, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, this is great. So we're going to talk about the power of language. So you've likely taught countless children from immigrant families. You mentioned to me previously, you talked about the false notion of discouraging indigenous tongues. What does that mean?
Yes, like before, there was a time they thought if you speak another language, it's going to spoil your English. Because maybe they did it to the French countries, it is possible. But it's like the language that is more powerful.
Right.
Thinks that the other languages are inferior.
Yeah.
Even like in the radio, they will tell you in your local languages, yeah, local means indigenous. But maybe some people will think local means you're putting it down. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
But now in Sierra Leone, they do teach indigenous languages, which is good.
Okay. Wow.
One time when we were in school, I don't know if it happened when other people came after us. If you speak Creole, they say, Patois, you're given a button, you will sweep the class, or you're punished for that.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree that in some way, maybe I'm not completely right, they should have more time that they speak English than their language, but they should not be punished for speaking their language.
Right.
Like I speak 3 or 4 languages. I'm grateful that I can speak them. Now I understand that that's a gift. But before they would give the impression as if that will spoil the other language.
Yes.
But now they've accepted the scholars, African scholars, non-African scholars, that if you're blessed with many languages, that means your dementia will delay, and it shows that your brain is more active.
Yes.
If you're dreaming in one language, you're speaking another language, you're waking up in another language. So it's like 3 languages in you. Like even now I'm speaking English, that means whatever device we have in us that God made there turns on to say English. Take English out, don't take full out, don't take Mende out that moment, you see. And even with that too, like your grandfather used to help with that. There are people who used to interpret Arabic to Sierra Leone languages. Those days, there were very few people who they had who knew so much Arabic, not just the basic Quran Arabic, who knew how to speak Arabic. So they were helping those days because there were Africans who came from the other countries who do not speak English, but they know Arabic. Because they used to use Arabic alphabet to write their language. They could write in Madingo using Arabic letters, calligraphy, or autograph, or what you call it, their script, using the Arabic script, So languages are good to maintain because there's so much cultural transmission that comes through a language that if you stop the man from speaking his language, this is not fair. At one time when they had the problem in America here, even among Germans and other people, you have to speak English. So English became superior. If you don't speak English, they think you are dumb. Until they opened up, now many places you could see documents that have French added to it, or more Spanish, because there's a lot of Spanish.
Yes. Now Ethiopian. I'm seeing the Ethiopian language in my neighborhood on some days.
Yes, they were one of the people who had their own script too, because many African languages are there, but it's like more other languages became more advanced because they could write them. Because the ability to write a language stores it more than the language that you just speak. Because when you write something, somebody could come back and look at it. Even with the thing we're having now, because they could record it, some people who are not here now will come back and look at it. When you can write something or store something, it helps more people to have access to it.
Absolutely.
So that's another power some languages have. And some people too, they are so conservative that they think if their languages come around other languages, it will be diluted. You cannot escape that. That's a human thing. It's a natural thing. Because many words you use in your language today might have been borrowed from other people. Just like other people borrow from you too. It depends on how many people, how many children they have, or how frequently they speak the language. That's how a language grows. You know, and also you have generational language too. Like every year, I think for the English, there are words that they add to the dictionary.
Yes,
but they used to be slangs, but after a while, everybody say Gen Z, Gen Z. They make it a word because you can't escape. It's natural. It just came. You know? So that is the whole thing about language too. But here they're doing a lot. Like in New York, even people who speak Fula, when you go somewhere, they bring somebody who interprets in Fula.
That's great.
Even though sometimes we tell them, oh, the Senegalese Fula is likely to say Fula is a Fula. At least you have a Fula. But still you will understand something, you know. Because even within a language too, you have dialects, or you have slightly difference in some words that they use. You know, even the Mandingo they speak in Sierra Leone, compared to the Mandingo in Mali itself, there is more Bambara, the original big language that's there. Some words they borrow, you know.
I wish I could speak. That's one of the things I was like, I wish I could speak Mandingo. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful language.
Yes, that's a very powerful heritage that connects to many other countries too, right? And their music,
I love Mandingo music. Yes. I do want to. You just made me think about something. So I think it was like a few weeks ago or a month or so ago, I saw on Sierra Leone on social media, they were talking about a new language called Gringlish or something. Did you see
Yes,
anything?
I saw that. That's a good effort somebody had made. I saw that. Yes. So that's a good effort somebody made. And interestingly, that area that happened in history, there was somebody who used some Arabic and other things to make a language in Mende, to make Mende script. They called Kikaku, somebody who came from that area. His name was a Kamara, which shows that he must have had some Mandingo influence. But he made Mende script using Arabic and Mandingo or something.
Wow.
I don't know how that person did it, yes, but somebody did made some attempt. Yes.
Okay.
I saw that. I don't know how far it will go or how many speakers they will have, you know. Although we already have to save that language I told you about called Cream. They're trying to find a way to save it because that language is almost extinct, you know. Because the big languages could always be the lingua franca, you know. Even some people who know Creole so much will say some Creole you speak, they say this Creole is influenced, it's not the original Creole, you know. But you can't escape. But as long as people are moving, languages are dynamic. They will grow, they will change. That's just the reality. You know?
Absolutely.
Because there are more important things than to force over some words have changed in my language. You know, it's a problem. You know, and some people too, they're so conservative because they think they want to become a bigot, think that ours is superior, you know, so the others all should be under us. It's not fair to think like that because
Absolutely.
already to speak something is a gift, let alone discriminate on basis of what you speak and what that doesn't speak, you know. And also, you know, that the Europeans at one time, when they came, they called us tribes. They didn't call us nations because they didn't want it to look big. So the word tribe is cool. But one time they used to use that word to just make us look small. You could not say an English tribe or Scottish tribe. They will say, no, we're a nation because we are superior, you know. So those are things too we went through, you know.
Wow.
You know, yes.
Wow. This is great. Okay, so why is language so critical to a person's identity, and what do we risk losing both as individuals and as a society when we pressure people to abandon their mother tongue? I think you touched on that a little bit, but this is more specific.
Yes, when it becomes a system where there are laws that discriminate against you or you're punished for it, that is not fair, you know. But many times people who migrate, they go through that struggle in their houses. Your father will say, don't use this word. Like even when I was growing up, if I wanted my father to do something special, I would say it in Fula. Even though he's a Fulaton man, he speaks Lord Amasi Creole. But if I want something, I'll say it in Fula, and he will be happy that I've learned more Fula words. You know, because up till date, I meet Fulas who will tell me, your Fula is not clean. I said, this is I don't Fula. It can't be cleaner than that. And then they will slow down a little, you know. But yes, there is a point that I should make it better, but don't discourage me from the little attempt I'm making. It's not fair. You know, because at least I'm saying it because there's no way it could be the same. Because if I'm a Fula in Freetown, it must have some Creole influence. If I'm a Fula in Pujang, there'll be some influence. you know.
Wow.
That's just the reality, you know. So
Absolutely.
until they stop that, you know, but they were discriminating people and they were making children not want to do it. But it's not only us, it's a human thing, you know, like even the Irish people. One time they were punished in England if they speak Irish, even the Welsh. Like now,
Yeah.
if you visit Wales, they have their own rights and they put their own thing. I think their country, they call it CYMRU, something like that, Simru. That's how they call Wales in their own
Oh,
language. But the whole world just know the Welsh. Or
okay.
Wales, that's what we know, you know, that like the
Yeah.
school of your family went to Prince of Wales. It came from that, the word came from that. There's a place called Wales, you know. So
Okay.
all these
Yes.
things are human arrangements people make, and they block the other people, you know. But they're getting better now to say, no, these people have their own language. Why should they suppress it, you know? Even the children in school now, they're encouraged to take. One time in Ireland, they made it mandatory to do Irish in school, just to keep all the children somehow to know that this is their language that they have, you know. You see.
Right. Wow. This is that's great. Okay, great. So let's talk about cultural competency. So this term is used a lot in education, and it can be very vague. I know not everyone fully understand what that is. So can you just tell us what that actually looks like in the classroom day to day? As an
Yes,
education
in the
director.
schools, they are trying to let us understand, which I think came from you guys, your world, the corporate world, that you should understand that people have their own culture that might be different, you know, and it's ongoing. It's not something that you will say you know so much about. You know a little
Right.
than somebody else who didn't make an attempt at all, but you have to appreciate that some
Yeah.
things you cannot do, or if you do, this is the way it will look to that person because of the culture they come from, you know. Just like somebody else who comes from a culture that is completely different, for them to understand that some things, some way some people come out is how they come
Yeah.
out here. You know,
Yeah.
like people will say there could be prejudice or maybe stereotype that Hispanic or black people are loud. The way they talk, people will say that.
Yeah.
Some people just do that to shut you up, if I say that word, you know. But some
Yeah.
people too, it's what they were told or what they saw, you know. But we are all going through that to get it better. So in many jobs now, in many schools, you have to take workshops on that for you to be licensed. Like
Mm.
even to have a teacher's license in New York City, you have to have some courses in that. Although there was a time also like 40% of the course was about the LGBT or what they call it,
Yeah.
to be
LG,
conscious of other people's orientation and stuff.
right.
But they still add that there to say, let you know that this thing was designed in the beginning for culture, but now this is
Mhm.
also added. But again,
Okay.
among the cultures they want you to be sensitive about, politics plays there too. So
Oh,
somebody who designed it maybe put more of that there, you know. So some people who
right.
didn't want to take it, they said, well, they won't give you the license. But finally, everybody said, okay, at least it's 40%. It's not the whole thing, you know. Then
Right.
you have to
Right.
do that, you know. So cultures are changing. You should be aware of that. That some things you cannot say in public. You don't want to say that to hurt somebody else. You know, you don't want to hold on to
Right.
some prejudice that will make the whole society lose. So that's what they're trying to do. Like even having workshops to let people aware, or like even there was a time that in the Bronx in New York there was a big fire. I think Bush was in power by then, the little Bush, the second
Hmm.
Bush, right?
Hmm.
And some people were caught in fire, a lot of people in the Bronx. So then there was a time that some people came who were experts in culture and stuff who said, well, we should let the African community, they called us to say we should understand that even if you're not documented, not like now that you can't just say it, you know,
Yeah.
you have right to some things. And
Yeah.
if you have a house that have 40 people, you're not supposed to have 40 people. But even if you have that, make sure that they all know where to escape if something happens.
Right.
But if
Right.
something happens in a little room, somebody doesn't know that if they use even a blanket to cover it or soak the blanket, it could stop.
Yeah.
You know, so all these types of things they're supposed to do so people know what they're supposed to do. Some people say civic education is not just cultural. They said yes, okay, but still it has a cultural base. Because some
Right.
of the men too, they brought their wives, they didn't want them to know a lot of things so that they don't get too exposed, you
Yeah.
know, they will lose them. Or some will say, I'll never bring my wife, you know. So these are all cultural things that are happening, you
Right.
know, and
Right.
sometimes these guys discuss between each other. You want to complain, well, that's why I didn't bring my wife. But everything has its downside and upside. And then if you have your child become a lawyer or something, or could file tax, why does your child come and do it for me? Suppose you should have brought your child. So you give and take. You cannot have all, and don't feel it's the end of the world. So even with even with the mental thing, mental health, that some things doesn't mean you are like full time. You've lost your mind. You're a human being. You go through stress.
Exactly.
You should voice it out. You should not be shy to say it. It doesn't mean you've lost your mind. You pray that you have an audience that understand. So it's two sides. It's like how people perceive you and how also you perceive people. And if you work in an environment, what are the things that are norm in that environment? So those are the three things the cultural competencies try to merge or bridge. That you work in an environment, they have some culture they go through there. You have what you've come with. You have what other people have come with that you would meet. So you guys have to like bridge or partner in some things, or some things you just leave it as it is because that's how it is.
Yes, exactly. So what do you think is the biggest mistake that schools make trying to be culturally competent?
Well, like many schools are there who, because of the source of fund that they have apart from the state budget, they dictate to them what to do. Like some schools even used to have some cultural studies like Black studies or workshops that could introduce that. So some of them don't do them except if it's one that is mandated, like for somebody to have their license. And they will say they don't have fund for that. Because there was a time even in the colleges, some departments that did Black studies were short of fund. They almost wanted to shut down. There were times also that guy, even Tyler Perry, had given money to help to resuscitate them. I think in Florida, they even completely closed some of the Black study things that they used to have there. I don't know who the legislators were to make that change, So we are going through that. But we thank God, like here, we still have Black History Month. We have all those people are saying it's too much. But it's good to have them because so much has happened. Like I never knew that even the traffic light was invented by a Black man. It's only by teaching in the school system that I knew that. It looks simple, but it is something that brought a change in the world and lives up to now.
Yeah.
That you could have Black inventors, So the schools too are going through that, where it depends on the neighborhood that the school is or how conscious the particular school leader is. So the union of teachers, something they call UFT, like for us here, and something they call CSC, like the union for leaders, for school leaders. They're doing that too. They're having workshops. They're trying to like get it better, to improve. And even among their executive too, they're making sure they have some woman representation, which that one has already been solved all the time. But for like mixed people or people who are there too, because of that, even when I saw Mam Danny's lineup, I had my own bias. I said, at least there should be one man, or at least there should be somebody who's Black. But I said, maybe those people, they look phenotypically non-Black, but I don't know what they are. I'll have to read about them again, because sometimes you might see somebody who don't look Black, but maybe they have a Black grandma, But we all go through the biases too. When I saw the list, I said, but there's no man there. Some things too, a man has to be there because we have how we see things,
Right.
But it was radical. He had only 5 women, I was like, what's going on, So we all go through that, we hope it was done for better or something better happens. Then you put the bias at the back,
Right.
So that is all part of the struggle. Sometimes I tell people about myself. I said, well, the first thing I would say about myself is that I'm a human, right? I acknowledge that. And then next one I would say, boy or girl, I'm a boy, right? And then I will say my race, I am Black, and then I will say born in Africa, and then I will say Sierra Leone, and then come down to even to say I live here, So all these identities counts to make who you are.
Absolutely.
I think some people will say against all Black people, it will touch you because you share that identity. Something people will say against men. It's like I've gone in 2 or 3 job situations where they have it in their head that Black in Africa we don't respect women. I said, what do you mean by that? I said, look, all the queens we have. You didn't know that? No, I didn't know that. But they say in Africa the men are superior, so everything you took it from that macho. I said, no. I said, I even have women who bully me sometimes. Say, really? I said, yeah. I said, but it's not just like that,
Right.
But that's what they've been told.
Yeah.
And they believe that, So we are all going through that. We pray that we have open mind, or we try to be people who accept if we are told, that, oh,
Yeah.
tone down, watch this, this is not helping the situation,
Right.
That's how
Right.
that is, right?
Thank you. Thank you. So you've worked as a teacher, a teacher's assistant, coordinator, now a director, but you are also an author now. I mentioned previously. You wrote a children's book, In the Shadow of Skyscrapers, celebrating Baba's African roots, which I have right here, you guys. And he's going to
Oh,
share.
I didn't know that, but you surprised me. You didn't have
Oh, I
one.
got it right when you published it. I love it,
Oh,
and I love
thank you.
the graphics. It's just really amazing.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
so tell us about it. What story did you feel like was needed to be told?
Yes. When I came, I noticed that it is true that the black male has a lot of problems. The black boy. There was a guy who worked for NYU who was a Latino, who does acknowledge that he has a black grandma, He said, yeah, we have to do something, He used to come to City College to help us. We have to do something, more black people have to be there, especially men, to be models, I said, yeah, we have to talk to our sisters too, because they kick us out. When they kick us out, we go,
Yeah.
But then anyway, in the end, we all agreed that we have to do something. And then there were cases of Africans, people who came here, who maybe that was their own way to solidarize, but they even had to have their own gangs. But then in New York, there are these old gangs that are really generational. You cannot fight them. It's too far. People who are specialized for that, they will try. So it was dangerous for them to have that. But maybe that was a way they were trying to say, we are here now. You have nowhere to go, But one time it became so scary that there was a Fuller family that they killed like 2 of their children. And even when people will come, like we have that African culture where if you're brave, we all come. They put a notice that if anybody comes there, they will shoot them. So people did not go. Even though the NYPD sent police to be there, you could ask Mr. Y, your friend, he used to be here, the ambassador, right? People were scared to go there, And in the prison system too, the black boys are doing their own thing too. The Africans mixed with the people who are Muslims too. Because there too, if you become a Muslim, you have a form of solidarity. We used to go there or talk to people who were just there for detention because of immigration. That is something light. But people who are in what they call Rikers, you see. So these are all problems, but all have to do with the black male. Because the black male is facing more problems. Even sometimes when they want to pull their pants down, you cannot condemn all the culture, but let them take it easy, Because some of them sometimes, even to run is a problem, because if you pull the pants down, you cannot run far. So you're not even realizing that, And the police too, they come into the community sometimes and we talk to them, we go there and say, well, even when you ask people questions, 3 or 4 questions, you intimidate them. Because if I say, oh, how are you? What are you doing in this community? If you ask me 5, 6 questions, oh, you are angry. I said, but I just ate ice cream. He said, how do you know that? I said, yeah, because if I ate ice cream, then I'll be annoyed. And then he will smile. But for me too, that's therapy. It will help me not to get annoyed. Because they're asking questions where they are trying to poke or get you in trouble, And then they will find an excuse to hold you. So that's why I wrote that book about this boy who could be an example of any of us, where the father drives taxi, which is something we do a lot here, to drive taxi, because there's less pressure in terms of documentation. But again, like now that this guy is doing something else, it increases your risk. But then many people are doing it, But then there's a grammar too, because many times we have people in the community who help. So in that story, the boy is there. I included Okumarabu people there too. If you look there, there is somebody who has an Okumarabu name, somebody called Macaulay or something, like a Creole Muslim name. That also, I brought some Sierra Leone in that. And then I spoke also about the names, that every name has a reason. It could be the name you were given because of the day you were born. So those are important, because the name I see as something, and it's true. Even with children that we do in the nursery school, they tell us that make sure you let them know how to spell their name or write their name, because there's nothing they will call in their life more than their name, except if they wish to change it later, they don't like it. but their name is their name. You know my name? You know my name? That's what they say more frequently, you know. So even in the days of slavery, a master will buy a slave and they don't like the name and he will have to force him to take his own name. You know, so name is important. Even surnames came later, but that first name, like what your name is. So I said that about that. And then there's a big sister there too. But some things also I replicated in my house, my household. I have a big daughter who helps the others, you know, like to the younger ones, they go with her, you know. So I even have a daughter who's, I used to tell her, you are Baba. She said, no, but you didn't write my own book. I said, okay, I'll write your own book later. You know, but sometimes how she interacts with her sister, I use that. And then I included a mosque there or some type of temple because I know the spiritual part helps. Because when there is no hope, that's one thing that will always tell you, you know, that keep hope alive, keep hope alive. Something should be there. You know, it could be a mosque, it could be somebody you believe in, or something that tells you you have value. So I included that there, you know. And I saw that it could also apply to Black people who are in other parts of the world, or even Black people who are back home, where we come from. So that's why I started with that. Although there are other things that I'll think of writing later, but I just said, oh, let me start with this. So the guy was encouraging me to do that. One of my colleagues, he has a PhD. He's always encouraging me to do a PhD. I said, no, I don't know if I'll do that now. I'll get the experience from it. I said, no, do it, do it. So I was talking to him and then I said this whole story and he said, that's enough. That's 30 pages already. I said, 30 pages already? I said, but there should be more things. I said, no, start with that. And they were very good with the colors, you know. So I like that. It's like Afrocentric, right? Right. You see? So I think the link, I could send the link to you on your messenger or something, and then you could post it on the line somewhere. He should be here. The guy, one of the guy who inspired me. He's from Liberia. His name is Dr. Boima. I don't know if you could see his name there, or maybe he went to do something else. His name is Dr. Boima Seray.
Okay.
He should be the illustrator there, even if you look at his name, the illustrator, that is the illustrator.
Oh, yes. Yes, I see.
So I have two colleagues. We are all directors. We used to have a directors club, and we still have the club, even though we don't work for the same company anymore.
Oh, wow.
There's a sister who's from Guyana, Dr. Mattel. I don't know if she's there too. She has a PhD too. Both of them finished their PhD. They said, come, African King. I said, no PhD yet. But they're also part of my support wall, you know.
Yes.
You know, and we all see things that way, you know, that somehow we are Black people. We should do what we're doing for our people. We are human beings. We support all other people, you know, because God made all of us. But we have so much gap to fill, gap to cover, that if we don't do something, we get worse. You see him there, Boima Seray?
No, I don't see him.
Maybe he went to do something else. But let me just send you the link.
I will be here. Yeah, if you can access the comment, do you see the comments where folks are commenting? It's on the left side of our screen in the bottom. If you can post it there. If you can, I can. I'm not sure if you're able to see the comments.
I see something here that says studio chat, but it says 2 people. But on the other one on your screen, I see more people. If I put something there, it will show, you think?
Okay, studio chat. Yeah, go to the right, it says comments. There's a box that says comments.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah, if you can click on that. But
yes, I see something that says comment.
Yeah, if you can click on that.
Yes, now I can see them. You're right. Good.
Okay, great.
Okay, good.
So yeah, if you can put the link in the as a comment, because people are interested in this book. I mean, this is great stuff. So let me just read the comment.
Yes, so, whilst I'm finding the link. Yes, good.
So Yazid Zubairu, my dad, one of our top fans, he said that I am very impressed to know that some of our young men do know our history, especially our pre- and post-independence political history. Very educated for our younger people to learn. Absolutely. Thank you for that. And then you are Okumarabu. Yes, Daddy. I think I mentioned that earlier. You weren't on. Yes. Okumarabu. So yes, Sabrina, he's working on posting the link to buy the book in the chat. So everyone, again, this is the book. This is the book. It's called In the Shadow of Skyscrapers, Celebrating Baba's African Roots. Okay. Look at this. So this is great. This is the first of many. I hope. We really need to find ways to pass down our history and heritage. So
So
he's just
I got to where it says connect, right?
um it should be comment.
Okay, comment.
Yeah. If you don't see it, because I know another guest had issues finding it. So I can you can send it to me and I can put it in there.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Annette. Annette said this was very informative. Yes, this is why we have conversations with my we want to, we want to learn, we want to inspire, we want to educate, we want to empower. I think conversations like this are very empowering, knowing where you're from, your history. It helps a lot with your identity and things like that, especially in this day and time. It's good to know who you are. And if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. So yeah, thank you, Annette. Thank you, everyone that
Yes,
stayed.
I sent you the link on your
Okay, I got it. So
phone,
I'll
right?
share it.
Yes, on the phone.
Okay. So yeah, so let's continue. So then yeah, so what gap did you see on the bookshelf that you hoped your book would fill for the children you work with and for other children when you were writing this book? What gap?
Yes, like in the schools now, they're encouraging us also to make sure, like when we keep a classroom library, we have some books that are on diversity, or sometimes if like it's the Black History Month or things like that, to have schools books that has connection to that. So there also, before I added my own book there, I saw books that are about Senegal. I saw books also about Gambia, although I didn't say Sierra Leone and one. But again, recently, one of our sister, Vicky Raymond, had some books that she made. I patronize her, and one time I even read her book in my school when I was a director. I went to all the classes. That's what we used for Black history. So it's good that we do have all these books there now to like close that gap for people to understand. Like my book, because of how it was colored, the illustration part, I have like 6 or maybe 12 schools now that do have them in their main lobby. Because sometimes you do that to want to make your school colorful too, to just show that you are representing all our people. Because these days in New York, you have a lot of people who are children from Africa or children from Bangladesh and people like that. Because somehow culturally they are making more children than other people who are here. So that's why even in terms of politics, they do have Eid and all these things have holiday now because of the vote. But again, these children too need things that represent them for them to enjoy the best of America and also validate what their people have brought to add to what they have. That's why that concept of assimilation, they don't use it a lot now. They will say a mosaic, that you're still New Yorker, but you are Oku New Yorker. Like there was somebody who had a handle called Okulimba. Some time ago, somebody had that. Some Sierra Leone, and I saw that. I said, wow, that's cool. So those type of things help, for you to
Yeah.
embrace all your heritage,
Yeah.
to be proud of that, because there
I have
must
a
be
couple of cousins too who
that
have
part of you
Okulimba.
abroad. Huh?
Yeah, I have a couple of cousins too. One has Okulimba, my cousin Adio, and then one of my other cousins Oku Mabu or something. She has.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's very powerful, all the contributions the people made,
Yes.
towards making who you are, or making Sierra Leone what it is, or making
Right.
New York what it is. You see?
Right.
That's why
Right.
recently when they had the politics, this guy here touched on many people because of those links. Oh, my
Mhm.
sister has put the link up. I don't know if she found it. Okay, good.
Yeah. Yes.
She shared it.
Oh, your sister. Okay.
Or maybe you did it or something.
It was
Okay.
me.
Because
Yeah, it
you're all
was
called
me.
mine. So I thought it was her. Okay, that's you. Yes. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, you put it up many times. Right. Good. Thank you. So
You're
that is the
welcome.
thing. It's like even this guy who won the elections now, even though he might not have all that money, but because he
Right.
touches on many cultural diversity, different things, Uganda, Indian, black,
Yeah, it's
and
very.
his father named him Kwame. in
Very
honor of Kwame
interesting.
Nkrumah, so all those things, you see.
Right. So let's go to the comments really quickly. So Annette Njao, Annette was on my show the third.
Yes. My
So she
predecessors, one of them, yes.
Yes. So she said, "Thank you for providing us with all this knowledge, Almamy." And then Yazid Zubaru said, "Almamy, are you related to the Seray-Wuries from Benti? Is that Ben? Yeah, Benti.
Your dad is Yazid too, and you have another Imam younger.
My dad is Yazid.
It's Fadluddin, right? This is your dad.
This is my dad.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
I'm related to
His
your
name
dad.
is
I know that.
Fadluddin too. That's his middle name. That was the name that the whole history with that stuff. But Fadluddin is one of his names.
Yeah, that's your dad, right?
Yes.
Yes. I'm related to your dad. Yes. My dad's dad was a naib like your dad.
Okay.
He was the guy who came to Fulatown in 1915.
Okay. Are you
Benti? Alpha Siri.
Okay. Are you from Benti?
They are our cousins.
Okay.
And we had intermarriages also.
Okay.
Like, for example, somebody who's your daddy's relative called Mami Subi. Mm-hmm. He had an older daughter who married to Binti.
Okay, great.
Somebody
Thank you.
called Wurie. Your father will know that more.
Yes, I know that name. Okay. So
right. Dawsi who passed was named after that man called Dawsi, yes.
Okay. Thank you. So Kadiatu
so the
Diallo
and the Seray-Wuries in Freetown and those in Pujeon, they're all related. They're like Senegalese, Guinean, history they all have. And then they have deliberately caused intermarriages to bridge that gap too.
Oh wow.
Yes. So like somebody called Dawsi Wurie is married to Ramatu Seray-Wurie. Okay. So like that guy who's in politics called Alpha Wurie, his mother is Ramatu Seray-Wurie, his father is Dawsi Wurie.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So we are like cousins, but one is on Sander side, one is on Freetown side.
Okay.
But they too, they call Bunduka, some of them, just like I told you. The C, some C are called Sawane or Bunduka too.
Okay. Great. So Kadiatu said, our dear brother Almamy Razak is a great historian. We appreciate him always volunteering knowledge on groups. Thank you, Kadiatu, for that input. So let's talk about just looking back as we wrap up. So after 3 decades of experience from Sierra Leone to the Bronx again, what is the single most important lesson you hope your students take away from having been in your classroom or your programs?
Right. I have 2 things that I hold on to. One, I remember there was a story I read, one of the nursery books about Anansi, the spider in Ghana, right? There's a Ghanaian story they call Anansi story that even came to the Caribbean. In Sierra Leone too, it came there. They call it Nancy story in Sierra Leone. The older people who speak Creole will say Nancy story. That means you're telling a long story. It comes from the Ghanaian thing, Anansi. In Ghana, they have some type of Akan story they call Anansi the spider. So there is a book that said there was this father. He had 6 children, I think, or 5. And this father, all his 6 or 5 children have their own skill. But then when their father was old and he got dementia, they were like, what do we do for our father? And they said, we have to look after him. But then there were times too, they had tensions, like dynamics. Oh, he likes this more, I'm better, I'm not better. But he didn't encourage them to do that. He thought that wasn't good enough. So, but then there was a time he got sick. So when he got sick, he got lost. And they had to look for their father. But then there was one who's gifted in like when he sleeps, he dreams, and he will find a location he was gifted, he could see, he's a seer. He said, oh, our father, I saw him in the middle of the river. But they trust him because he's gifted in that. Another one was there who's good at building roads. He said, okay, I'll lead you guys. He built the roads, they went there. Another one was there who was good at drinking water in large quantities, so he drank all the water. Then the sea got dry and they saw their father. They saw a fish. And the guy who was there said, the father is in the fish. And then they cut open the fish. And then whilst they were trying to take the father out, a prey bird like ark or eagle took the father up, and it's like all their effort would go in vain. Another one who was a good hunter had to use a sling and hit the bird, and the bird released the bird. Another one who was very good at upholstery, who made sponges and bed, put the bed for the father to fall down on. Then they got their father safely. So the analysis story is trying to say that we all have what we are gifted with, but we are human beings, so we are animals, we compete. But let's have in mind that we should work together. And everybody has their own. So the father said, you see, in the end, even though I was sick, I have got my consciousness now, I feel better, but you all have value. If you didn't see where I was, the others will not know where to go. If you didn't make the road, the others will not follow. If you didn't drink the water, I would be in there, I would suffocate. If the other one did not split the fish open, who's good like a surgeon or something, they will not see me. And the bird took me away, and all your efforts are going to go in vain. But the one who was the hunter hit the bird, and I fell down. The other one who can make sponge, put a sponge, and I am safe now. So all of you, black people, pink people, but for us now, I'm addressing us because we have gaps to cover. Let us work together. There's something you know in your tribe that another tribe doesn't know. Like a Shabro person will know about the ocean better. A Kru person will know about the ocean better. A Fulaman or Fulato will know about cows better, because Oku or Muslims like to slaughter animals, even Madingos, right? Or something. Or gold, Madingo will know more. But when we all come together, it gets better. That's the one part. The second part is there's a lady who's a musician, like you like Madingo music. They call Sona Jibate. She's a Gambian. She's like mixed race. She sings. She said, the education system in Africa, we have to sit down and honestly reform some things about it. If we just leave it as it was designed when we had independence, we are not helping, because they've made us systematically think we are inferior. So we have to have more books that talk about us. We have to validate each other. We have to acknowledge our own fault. We have to accept our own black on black things that we do to each other. So if the person who's outside knows that you are sober, they will not bring that to you. They will say, oh, they like each other. But when they know we have our own little differences, they go between that and keep our countries unstable. We fight all the time, and it's not helping. But again, some people in this part of the world are acknowledging that they should do something, because you have a lot of black people who are migrating, or from poorer countries who are trying to come. Like some go through the desert, some go through the water, and they see all these horrible pictures. And you cannot just stop them easily if you don't find something for them to do where they are. And there are too many young people in the world now. We have to address that. It's not fair. So that is the conclusion part, the two things. One, for us to have an education that informs us and that validates what we are doing, like relevant education. Doesn't mean the other is not relevant, but it's like your foundation is your foundation, because many things in life would come and you will dust them off. But if you have a strong foundation, there is something you're going to build on, but if your foundation is weak, or you don't make efforts to fix some things as part of your healing, is a problem. And let us not be competitive to that level. We could have healthy competition, but not to think that you should turn somebody else's light off. You cannot just do it. You will just make some effort. Maybe it will succeed, but the light will always be there. Try to work together and do your best.
That was excellent. My sentiments exactly. I believe in collaboration. I believe that we all have our special gifts, and when we come together, that we it's easier to achieve success, and also not dimming anyone's light. So thank you. I'm gonna quickly go in the comments, and then so the book is in the I pinned the book, the link to the book, you all.
Thank you.
Yes. So here we are. So Azid said Oku Nasaras are the Christians, okay? And Abdullah says I have no doubt in him. He has always been like that from the Magai days. Okay.
Yes, we studied at Milton Magai College together.
Okay.
Abdul Kamara, yes, that's what he's saying. Magai days, yes. Hi,
Thank
Abdul.
you for
African. We used to say African. Yes. Yes.
He said you've always been like that. Okay, great. So Sabrina, she's Guyanese. so Sabrina's originally from New York. I'm not sure if she's still there, but yes, in Guyana we still have those stories. I grew up with them. Guess the stories you mentioned previously. The Africans in Guyana were Ghanaians. We have similar cultures and traditions. Thank you so much. And then I did have one last bonus question for you, though, which I think it's very important. So, what advice would you give anyone that's thinking about getting into the education field? Especially with young children, because I mean, I think that's such a privilege, um, field. And I always tell people, I love teachers. I love my teachers. They're the best, right? You all do a really great job, and it's not easy. So, what advice would you give someone looking to get into that field?
Yes, it has changed a lot now. It's really encouraging. You have a lot of people who've been in corporate world or other worlds who are coming back to just help out, and they like it and they fall in love with it. There's so much resources being poured into early education now that you have to get them when they are young, and that foundation will take them a long way. So it's changing a lot. We have a lot of people who have been encouraged, sometimes even from other states, as long as you have a bachelor's or an associate that shows that you have some reasonable number of credits from a tertiary institution, you'll be there whilst you are taking some other credits, and also you'll have a temporary license until you are given a full license, like what they call certification or license. So they're encouraging people to do that because it is changing now. And now they even have the 3K. Like before they have universal pre-K, which is 4 years old. Now they have a 3-year-old now, 3K.
Oh, wow.
Yes, they're doing 3K now. Yes.
That's great.
Because they had like the two best models were like what happens in Finland and what happens in Singapore. But still there are people who think it's too fast in Singapore, and in Finland too, they expect too much from a teacher, Like in Finland, you're supposed to have a master's straight up. They don't take you and encourage you to even have a bachelor and find a master's. They don't do that. But that's too harsh, So then you have the Singapore model that says, oh, even if somebody is 3 years old, there is so much they know, depends on their family background or their own effort, something they call fonts of knowledge. That means whatever your family uses as vocabulary or what you learn that you bring to school, So that's why they follow the 3K model. So now, the only push there is that, or the only worry, if I'm not saying push, is that before you used to have what they call CBO a lot, community-based organizations, like daycare organizations, that some people will only have 3 levels, like infants, toddler, 3K, 4K. But now the public schools too are trying to have some 3Ks. But then it's becoming a problem because people at 3K are supposed to take a nap, even if it's for 1 hour, and they want them to bow on their desk. So they put some pressure on them now. So now some of them do have beds that they take there for them, and even for them to change. Even though the public schools too used to have up to second grade, you're supposed to let them have extra clothes in case they have an accident. But now that you have to deal with people who are 3K, some are potty training, you have to have like a change table. Those are the accommodations they are trying to make now, Wow. And in many of these institutions, like the CBO, which is not a public school, it is the older generation people who'll be there who might not have to have even a bachelor's, but they could read and write, or maybe try to have a GED or like a high school graduate, but they're hands-on, they know stuff, and they would help with that. And other people think, oh, why should I go and change children, So you have that social concept too, where some parents will say, oh, you're not teaching the children anything. But then we try to give homework every fortnight for them to know that there are things we do, and we have workshop with them for them to understand that. Yes, we are babysitting, even if you call it that way, as long as you love it. But that doesn't mean you should look down on people or they look down on you.
Yes.
Because in the end, we all want good for our children, And that time that your children are in school, we are giving you that break too, because at least you have that break.
Yes.
So those things are changing now, but it's a good thing to come to, and many people are doing it now. Some are just tired with the pressure wherever they are, especially after the COVID-19. Many people realize a lot of things. Some people too, they are home, they work half day, and then they go and help in the school. So many people are coming there now to help, So it's a good thing to consider as a career, And by nature, you can talk. So if they pay you to talk, what's better than that?
Right.
And something that we do in the early childhood, you're doing it at home also to help them. It's just that you didn't give them a nice name, a fanciful name. Like there is yoga, right? There is yoga they call brain yoga. I mean, imagine when they put the word brain there, it looks so fanciful, right? But in Sierra Leone, at one time, it was a punitive exercise. If you don't do something right, your parents will tell you to do this. Go up and down. They call it pump. But pump is called brain yoga. It's fanciful. It's something Columbia University says, if you do it for a while, the blood will pump and it will make them not sleep much in class and they will be alert. They call it brain yoga.
Wow.
Because even crisscrossing your hand medically helps, You could ask your auntie. You have an auntie in England who was a doctor, who used to help Methodist Girls High School. Somebody's a doctor in your family. I think I remember one Dr. Seray-Wurie, a lady.
Okay.
Maybe that was not her full name, but there was somebody you could ask her.
My dad
they call it brain yoga. Huh?
I said my dad can help me with that.
Yes, she was in England. I remember one time in England, she used to allow a lot of people to come around and hang around with the young people and stuff. She was nice. I forgot her full name, but I think she's Zubairo, maybe.
Okay.
As her first name, or her mother is Zubairo or something. She used to help girls' school, Methodist Girls' School, as their medical person too, part-time.
Okay.
So that, And here, that is one good thing too. All their schools have nurses and stuff.
Okay.
We don't have much of that back home, except the old girls help out. Or FSSG, they do have a clinic.
Okay. Wow, I didn't know.
They have a clinic, yes.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sure my dad would, if he's online, he's going to let us know who that person is.
Yes.
So
they call it brain yoga, but we call it pump. It's like punitive.
Wow. I'm going to look into that. I never knew about that. That's interesting. But thank you again so much. I mean, this was excellent. It's reflected in the comments as well. So thank you. You just very knowledgeable, and I do hope you write some more books. Because
yes, I'll try my best. And thank you for having these conversations. It is good that we have this to help us to appreciate how much it means to share and talk. Just humans.
Yes.
Everyday life matters, or things that you have knowledge of, you share it.
Yes.
And we hope that will make it better for us and even the generation that comes after us. So Thank you for having all of us. We are here every weekend. We're waiting for you.
Thank you. I'm bringing some more interesting people like yourself. So thank you again. Thank you, audience.
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yes. The link is on here for you to purchase the book.
Yes, okay. I saw one of my sisters, Jane Bankole Jones. Thank you for coming here too. That's another veteran teacher too. She was teaching in Gambia, in Sierra Leone.
Oh, wow. Here too.
Yes.
Excellent.
I used to call her Lady Bankole Jones because we used to have somebody in Sierra Leone history called Bankole Jones. There was a governor called that with that name, yes.
Great. And make sure you share.
My other sister, Zainab Samura.
Share this live, okay? Share this live. I've
Thank
shared
you, everyone. Thank you. City Maju. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Have a good night.
Okay, bye-bye. Cheers.
Bye-bye, everyone.